Get ready for a great show.
Black space is a place for us.
Real people with real issues.
Discussing real topics.
Black space.
A safe space for our community.
Hello, I'm George Middleton, your host this evening on this podcast episode of Black Space Live. The topic and title of our show today is Part 3, Who Hurt You? A conversation about relationship trauma. I would like to take this time briefly to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. In other words, don't be selfish with this content. Share the love. Let's reintroduce our esteemed panelists for today. You've seen them before. They are very engaging, very intelligent, and at the risk of sounding just a tad bit chauvinistic, very beautiful as well. Ladies, beginning with Desi, would you please reintroduce yourself and just tell them anything you think they should know about you?
Hi, everyone. I am Desi, and I am a blogger over at juteandolive.com. I do lifestyle content, and I love to have these interesting discussions about the Black community. And it really helps me to kind of formulate some ideas for my content. So tonight, I'm sure it will be no different. And guys, follow me over there at Jute and Olive if you like lifestyle content from a Black woman's point of view. And that's about it. Good to be here.
Well, welcome, Desi. Zuri.
Hey, everybody. My name is Zuri. I'm a stay-at-home mom, a disabled veteran. I do astrology, mentoring, and I love, like she said, great topics especially about the Black community and holding ourselves accountable for the things that's going wrong and the things that we need to do better, whether it's man or woman, everyone. And I like to stand on truth.
All right. Well, welcome, Zuri. So this is going on part 3. And we've covered, when we started, we covered relationships, celebrity breakups of 2022 that they included Gisele Bündchen and Tom Brady, David Guetta and Jessica LaDon. Let's see, Rosie O'Donnell and her girlfriend, Real Housewives of Atlanta star Cynthia Bailey and Michael Hill, Leonardo DiCaprio and Camila Morrone, Jennifer Flavin, Sylvester Stallone. How old is Sylvester, by the way? That boy, huh?
Probably in his 60s, almost.
He's still getting it, isn't he?
I would say he's in his 60s, maybe.
Maybe I think even older than that. He has a new show out where he's playing like a 70-something or 80-year-old guy. So I think that's like his age range.
Yeah. And he's still looking, in pretty good shape. Mm-hmm. But he's still out there kicking it with the young boys. It seems like, in terms of relationships and stuff. He's not going nowhere and just sitting down and chilling. Kim Kardashian, Pete Davidson, and our favorite Kanye, or formerly known as Kanye, Ye, and his recently muse, Chaney Jones, and they only were together for just a few months, and that was after a brief spin with Julia Fox. So and I pointed out with the celebrities just because. You think with money and fame and access that relationships would be, it would seem like the relationships would be easier. You've got everything you need. What's there to argue about? What's the stress? Just everybody's, got means, and but doesn't seem to be so. And then we got into some background about, or we explored some of the reasons why marriages fail, and talked about the boundaries and what are the roles of men and women, what are the three most common causes of divorce, which are conflict, irretrievable breakdown in relationship, lack of commitment, and infidelity. So we covered, a lot. We addressed questions like, are lifelong relationships realistic anymore? If everyone is in pain, how do we keep it from affecting our relationships? Is it reasonable to be healed before committing to a relationship? And healing is that was a big factor in our discussions, and something that I think bears more fruit for the picking. But I think for this third part in this series, I like to kind of break it down on two components. One being this real or perceived lack of the male role, lack of what a man is. There's a resurgence of men standing up and creating platforms about, hey, we want to go back to being the men that we were designed to be, and women need to respect that. So that's one component of the issue. I think the second component is that there seems to be a divide amongst women. Instead of a collective approach, there seems to be a significant divide amongst women with regard to how they see this relationship problem. There's the feminist side of the female equation, and then there's the anti-feminist side of the female equation. So those are kind of the areas that I like to maybe base this conversation on today. How do those two components hit you all regarding the direction of this discussion? Desi.
Women uniting on the idea of how a commitment should be as far as families are concerned and marriages. I definitely agree with that being a big issue, because I believe that community and civilization is built on families. I don't really see a direction for humankind at all if people just decide that the family is not a worthy union, a worthy unit. It's nothing. Everybody can kind of do whatever they want to. We can take care of the kids individually and together at the same time. I don't see how our civilization can run with that kind of a format. Now, this idea about men feeling that they want to go back to the way that they were quote unquote built or made to be men, I think that is a huge issue, because I don't think that men have known through the years how to properly nurture women and children in their communities. And so the idea that men have of going backwards, I don't actually agree with that. I don't consider myself a feminist, but I do share some of the understandings of the feminist ideology, because when it comes to the power that men can wield over women and children, abuse is a huge factor. And I don't really agree with those guys that feel like we should go backwards in time to that kind of chauvinistic way of thinking where the man is the strong arm of the family.
Okay. I appreciate the clarity with which you're evaluating these two components. Zuri, how do you see these two aspects that I like to explore this discussion through?
I agree with Desi on the part about we can't have community without family, or, how can we raise family or continue our generations if we don't have family? But as far as the males, and you're talking about moving backwards, no, I believe that without the men, we can't do it. And that the men are the backbone of all of us. And I don't think that it would be moving backwards if men started standing up or saying that this is how it goes. I believe that it needs to start being like that. Then a whole lot less problems we would have a whole lot less problems in the Black community as a whole.
Okay, so let's start with the male piece, because that seems like there's some gold to mine there.
Okay.
First question: is feminism good for healthy relationships?
I don't think so.
Tell me why.
I think because feminism is one-sided and they don't like to take the male's perspective in consideration, and the women wants to make themselves first, like they're the do-all, be-all, end-all of everything, and that's not the way that it goes. And I think feminism has messed up the community, especially in Black women, a whole lot of the Black women nowadays.
What has it done to?
It's teaching our young girls and women today that they don't need men, and that's very far from the truth. And they're making the women.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. It makes the women seem like, everybody wants to be this super strong, independent, I got it, I don't need a man, and that's not the way society works.
Desi?
Well, I am not very, very, very heavily informed on the topic of feminism, but I am, generally. And I do believe that feminism has a role in the family unit. I agree with the concept that men can be feminists and that men should be feminists, because in an ideal world, our men protect us, they coddle us, and they uplift us. In the real world, more men abuse women and children. And without that element of understanding those feminist ideas of what is happening in the mind and lives of female children and male children and women, then how can we get around that abusive nature that's happening in our community? We can't just kind of cover it up and overlook and say, well, women are being just taught that they don't need a man. Women are being taught that they don't need a man, but I think we need to dig into the reasons of why feminism has been so appealing to the women in our community. Why is feminism even appealing to Black women? And I think it's more dealing with the abuse factor.
I think while you said mainly the men aren't nurturing and they're abusive, no, because according to everything that's going on, majority of the abuse comes from single mothers with no father in the home, not with the fathers in the home. Most of the abusing, even though it may not be physical, is coming from single moms, mental, physical, and I hear this all the time. It's not really
you don't believe that. I'm just going to deal with Black men. Black men are physically abusive to their partners.
I'm pretty sure they are. I'm pretty sure there are Black men that are physically abusive, just like there's Black women that are physically abusive to their children. If not
their children. I am speaking about children, but I'm more speaking about to their partners, because in order to build a family unit, you first have to deal with the two people that are building a family reunion. And in my experience, like I said, I don't have the statistics to back it up, but I have found that Black men are very abusive in their relationships with their spouses and partners.
I don't tend to think that, not even in my experience. I haven't really dealt with that. And then at the same time, when we like to say that men are abusive, women don't even take accountability in the role that they play in being abusive. The way that you speak, the way that you belittle him, the way that you don't let him lead, the way that you don't trust. A lot of that stuff plays factors in it. And we as Black people, even from the get-go, we all need to learn how to even speak to one another. Tone, everything has to do with a lot of the things that happen in our communities nowadays. We can't just say, I mean, yes, there are situations where
I don't think that we can make excuses for abuse. Like, victim blaming is never an answer to say, well, that person spoke to that man incorrectly, so she deserved to get
what's
abused.
Incorrectly to you, though, because belittling a man is, you don't have to be abusive to someone just by putting your hands on them.
Belittling a man, well, I'm talking about physical abuse, and belittling a man is not a cause for physical abuse.
I'm not saying it's a cause, but why belittle a man when you can just talk to him at normal?
Well, but we're talking about physical abuse. We can't break down why everybody has the trauma that they have that has shaped their personality, but we can say that there should be something that allows a line to be drawn. I will never sit here and say, well, that woman or that child said the wrong thing to that man, so now that is
I'm not agreeing with that, but at the same time, a woman needs to be held accountable for what comes out of her mouth.
Not at all. Not at all.
So
nobody needs to be held accountable. Nobody's mouth should be the reason why they're physically attacked.
Because women physically attack children for saying the wrong thing and disagreeing with them.
But children and feminism are not the same topic.
No, we're talking about,
my statement was that men should have a level of understanding of what women are going through, being the more burly, more physical partner in a relationship. You're saying that a woman then needs to watch her tone, watch what she says.
I said both,
so that she doesn't get beat up.
I said both of them. I said there's a tone.
And then what if she doesn't, though? What if that person doesn't?
If she doesn't, then she should leave. If you can't control your tone when you're speaking to a man, if he's handling everything, you should leave. It's
okay, but she can't leave if she's getting beat up for what she said.
Nobody said that. See, you're taking it to the extreme instead of dealing with the front.
You're saying that women should watch what they say in order that they are not abused.
Women are disrespectful, just like men are.
And that's fine. Women, children, and men are disrespectful. But when do we put the top on that and say that now that person can be physically abused because of
nobody said that? But at the same time, it doesn't give the run. I'm not saying that men are right and being abusive, but at the same time, everybody needs to watch their tone, how they're speaking to people.
Well, but that's in a perfect world. But your boss doesn't watch their tone when they're speaking to you a lot of times.
That's the boss.
Your children don't watch their tone.
Okay, let me interject here because this is clearly an important issue.
It is
this discussion right here that we have definitely hit on pay dirt right here, and I'm really grateful that we have two passionate alternate perspectives here, because this is representative of the listeners and the people in the community that represent the statistics of relationships today. So let's really try to narrow this down. Zuri says that feminism is not healthy for relationships. Do you agree with her on that? Or no, actually it sounds like you don't agree, because
I've said that I don't agree with
you
that.
Do not agree.
I feel that a healthy level of feminism, especially from a man's point of view, and I've actually had this conversation with my own husband, is very much important for a relationship, because men don't typically consider the things that women go through. I know that I had this discussion with my husband once about the issue of, I know we're on YouTube, RAPE. I was telling him that, as a woman, there are a lot of things that I think about and we as women think about outside of just, okay, well, let me go out, do what I need to do. Somebody might try me and I might get into a fight or something, whatever men think about. But we're going around thinking about someone might kidnap us. They might take us and take our, and violate us in a sexual way. We have to be on guard with our lives as we are walking around. And my husband was saying, well, I never really thought about that. I never thought about the fact that women are walking around thinking that, okay, well, let me see what that guy over there in the corner is doing, because he may make a move on me that I really don't know what's coming. And that's something that men are not thinking of, because that's not their life. When I think of feminism, I think about issues like that being at the forefront of a man's mind, so that the communication and the healthiness in the relationship is there.
And that's
not
where
just a woman watching her mouth and not even being able to speak about that to her husband.
and that's where I want to get
the communication factor.
And that's where I want to get some clarification there. You just went where I was trying to get some clarity on. I want to make sure that maybe it's something else we're talking about other than feminism. So
That's what I was going to say. You start talking about feminism.
Let me read feminism real quick, just so we can get clarity on this. Feminism is a political ideology, a range of social, political movements and ideologies that aim to define and establish the political, economic, personal, and social equality of the sexes. Feminism incorporates the position that society prioritizes the male point of view and that women are treated unjustly in these societies. When I hear you speak on Desi, about what you are calling feminism, I do believe that those behaviors exist. Statistically, on a statistical level, they exist. However, the way that you frame it, which that's kind of the second portion, but so I don't really want to go into there yet. Are we? Is this your understanding of feminism? Is that
it definitely is my understanding that the latter part of the definition that you made, that society prioritizes. Can you read that again? The society.
Yes, that society prioritizes. Feminism incorporates the position that society prioritizes the male point of view and that women are treated unjustly in these societies.
Exactly. That goes back to the discussion we were just saying about the abuse. Society in that idea prioritizing this idea that the man must be spoken to in some type of unknown perfect way, or then that go ahead and authorizes him to treat a woman unjustly. I definitely, to some degree, agree with feminism, because in the world that we live in, men are not these perfect creatures that treat women to the highest degree. And this kind of idea that women then have to close themselves down, watch their mouth, and all of this, to me, is the definition that you just read.
Is it
the ideas of a man over a woman?
If you are standing on the assertion that men can mistreat women, do you also accept the fact that women can mistreat men?
Definitely.
Do you see as much of that side? Stacey Gale, who's supposed to be one of our guests, is in the chat room, and she says it's a lot of women that are abusive. So do you see a difference between the mistreatment on both sides of the relationship coin?
I do see a difference because of the innate degree of physical strength that men have. Now, when we talk about who hurt you, yes, Black women especially become physical in relationships. In that instance, what Zuri said, that is the person, the man is that person that has usually, most times, has the ability to say, okay, this woman has been hurt, she's being physical, let me leave, because I'm typically the more physically powerful person in this situation to leave. In many situations where a man decides to get physical with a woman, leaving is not even an option. So yes, women do get physical with men often, but I don't feel like that is a reason to say that, okay, well, feminism is just the whole concept that women need to be understood in this way through feminism needs to be out the door because, women, they have a smart mouth. And sometimes
I don't think she understands. I don't think you understand the whole idea of feminism. You're just focusing or zoning in on one area about the physical.
Well, that's the area that we're talking about. Are we? What other area? Because the first area that we were talking about, and I am stuck on it, is when you were saying that women need to watch what they say. To me, that represents a strong point of what George read, which is that men's ideas are prioritized over women.
I don't think so. I think women's are more prioritized because most men change themselves to even be with a woman, change who they are to be with the woman. I'm not saying that I agree, like you said, the physical nature, but at the same time, like Stacey said, women need to start holding themselves just as accountable as you guys do with men with violence, because some men try to walk away, and a lot of men are in jail because they tried to walk away because women just wouldn't stop. And I'm not saying on an everyday conversation, oh, watch your mouth. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like I always say, if it gets into a heated argument or whatever, and that man's toned or whatever, and then the woman lashes out, or either or, it's no excuse for anybody putting their hands on one another. I don't know where Black people in the community even get that from. Like I tell people, animals don't even hurt their children. That's something that most of us get from an environment of growing up, watching your mom get her hands laid on, or either or.
Okay, so from George's topic and of feminism, do you feel like then that feminism is the cause for the recklessness of the tongue of these women? You feel that the cause of that is feminism?
No, because that I don't know.
So what is your issue with feminism?
My issue with feminism is that when it comes to feminism, most women feel like they don't need a man, or they want to be equal to a man. And that's just not the way it works. If we were built to be equal, it would be that way. It's not. Feminism teaches a lot of the women nowadays that they don't need men, and that they can handle everything on their own, and to make men obsolete.
Okay, that's an extreme, but that is an extreme form of feminism, and it's not.
That's how the world. What you say, in the perfect world, but it's not a perfect world. So you should probably maybe watch a whole lot of things that's going on with feminism in the world.
I'm not going to watch a whole lot of things that's going on with feminism in the world, but I will talk on the definition that George just gave of feminism. And so based on the definition of feminism, I don't understand what your point of view is. That, where does that say in that definition?
My point of view is that Black women also need to hold themselves just as accountable as we
Black
hold
women
accountable.
Outside of feminism, before this whole feminism train, Black women were on a straight path to being single mothers on their own, even without.
You know what I tell people a lot about single mothers sometimes?
What about them?
At the end of the day, I'm not saying that, women need to start using better discernment. Everybody doesn't ask to become a single mother, but at the end of the day, you choose to sleep with that man. That man's not going to have sex with you unless the woman says so.
But then you also said that when Black women are saying that they don't need men.
That's part of feminism. That's what I said. Don't separate the two.
I need you to combine the two and tell me how they make it. Because to me, they seem like the same thing.
That's your opinion. It's not the same thing.
So being a single mother and being a feminist that doesn't need a man.
No, because there's a lot of single women that feel like they need a man. Then there's a lot of single women that feel like they don't need a man.
If you're single, what would be stopping you from having a man if you're single and you feel like you need a man?
A lot of things stop women from having men. Their attitudes, the fakeness.
I need you to chime in, George, because I'm just not understanding. I'm not understanding where I'm coming from.
So let's break this down for a minute. It seems like we're talking about one topic, but it's being perceived in two different ways. So let's just take one aspect. your first Desi, your first area of disagreement was Zuri's comment about tone, where Zuri is saying that tone is important to a man.
Any relationship.
You're saying you're interpreting it as a woman has to watch her tone, which is
that is what she's saying. Tone. Well, she specifically said that women need to watch their tone. And secondly, tone is not just important to a man. That's why I feel like I do agree with the feminist ideas, because tone is important to everyone. Everyone deserves respect, not just a man.
Okay.
So if the feminist idea is that equality and respect should be across the board to men, women, and children, I have no issues with that because I agree with it. I don't agree that in a household, in my household, that my husband can disrespect my children or disrespect me, but everybody should watch their tone around him.
That's not, see, you're misunderstanding. I think she's misunderstanding what I'm saying.
Please stop saying that I'm not misunderstanding at all. If you desire to explain a little bit further, that's fine. But I hear clearly what you're saying.
Yeah, Desi, give her a chance to address.
She can address it, but I just don't really like.
I can address it. That's what I'm talking about right there.
Okay. Go ahead, Zuri.
From what I was saying, I wasn't saying that. I said when it gets down to that, you're making it seem like I'm saying that it's okay for men to physically abuse women. That's not what I'm saying. I said when it comes to having issues at both parties, I said men and women need to watch their tone when they speak to one another, because that's part of the problem that we have with one another is the tone. I never said that it was okay for either party to disrespect one another, because I don't believe in disrespecting people. I believe in treat people as you want to be treated.
So you believe in equality.
And right there, well, hold before you go to equality, right there, I believe you and Zuri are in agreement. Are you not, Desi?
Definitely.
Okay. Because I think that's where and I think this shows the glitch that society at large is having with this feminism thing. Women that are anti-feminism, women that are pro-feminism, feel that it comes out of a need to be protective, to be defensive against the negative aspects of the man. So women have to unite and get together to resist the natural inclinations, what they feel are the natural inclinations of a man. Women that don't share that feminist view are saying, hey, just because I don't share the feministic view does not mean that I am a pushover, that I am for being abused. So it's like there's these misperceptions on both sides, and we've got to find that where we align. Is that clearing it up at all, or am I making things more muddy?
No, crystal clear. I got you.
Yeah, I'm very willing to find the line, because I want to understand what is the difference between equality across the sexes, this idea of feminism, not the extreme idea, and the idea that feminism, that equality is wrong. And I guess maybe I don't know what your religious beliefs is, but I know with Christian beliefs, a lot of people that are anti-feminist will say, well, the man is the head, then the woman and the child, so feminism is wrong.
Okay, so let's examine the concept of equality, because that's a huge concept of the feminist ideology. And while I'm doing this, Stacy, would you mind typing in the chat room, are you pro-feminist or anti-feminist? I'd be curious just to make sure you have. And then I see your questions, and we'll get your questions in a minute. But just let us know what side of the feminist coin are you on. But with equality, and I know this what I'm going to say. You all have heard this before, so I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence. But being equal is not synonymous with being the same. Correct? So
Correct.
while we're equal, you all, I cannot treat you like I would treat me. That has nothing to do with the level of value that you have, the level of worth. We aren't equal. Well, probably y'all probably a little higher than me, probably on a good on my worst day. But I'm just saying, equal is not synonymous with being the same.
Right.
And so an example, a daily relationship example, the man comes in, he made a mistake. He did something boneheaded. Okay. He just did something really stupid. And there's two ways to respond to that. There's the perceived aggressive feminist way, or the traditional respectful non-confrontational way. Now, as most men, present company included, yeah, I'll admit when I'm wrong and make a mistake. But now, if you're coming at me crossways, I may not necessarily respond in the most healthy way as I would, because as a man, for most men, tone is everything. And when a man feels he's being challenged by anyone, most men, not all men, but when a man feels he's being challenged, it's in our DNA. We're warriors at heart. So respect and tone, those things are huge. They're not important for women.
So is it our understanding then that if a person identifies with feminist beliefs or as a feminist, then they're innately aggressive?
I wouldn't think so.
No.
Because you said that if a person responds in the aggressive feminist way, what do you mean by that?
No, I said perceived. I said in a perceived. Yeah, I said perceived aggressive.
Right. So why are you saying the perceived?
Because that is the issue with feminism. Feminism is perceived in relationship, in the context. What I read, the definition I read you about feminism is that it's a political ideology. However, somehow it has gotten conflated with relationships.
I just feel like feminism then is being branded as a disrespectful woman. And this is very near to me when you say who hurt you, because I grew up in a family of very disrespectful Black women across the board in my community and my family. And a lot of Black people do. They don't know how to speak to each other. They don't know how to speak to their mate, but they would never identify as feminist.
Can you share more specific? I don't want you to share anything you're not comfortable sharing, but this is really important. You said you grew up in a family, because I see this a lot too. A lot of our women grow up in matriarchally dominated families. Right. So share with us your experiences that you're comfortable sharing that form your perspective on that today.
Well, I won't share any huge experience, but just my experience with the women in my family. They're like, to Zuri's point, their tone to the men that they've been involved with, husband and men, is a disrespectful tone, questioning their whereabouts, just taking taking leeway where where you really shouldn't if you're trying to have a healthy relationship. But those women don't identify as feminist.
Right.
So why is it that the feminist ideology is being co-opted by this angry, I don't want to say this, I'm going to say it, this angry Black woman ideology? Because that's what it sounds like to me. It's like, oh, well, now if you're that angry Black woman, you're a feminist. I know many angry Black women that would never dare identify as feminists. but
Okay.
they're very disrespectful.
All right.
So how does that relate to our community, our Black community? Are we just co-opting the word feminist and putting it on our trauma?
Zuri?
I was gonna say, because when she says how she grew up like that, a lot of that, I think when you grow up in that environment and you grow up when you become a woman, you think that stuff is okay. And that already goes to show that from a young age, you're already teaching the girls that there's no leadership in the home. There's no man there. I didn't grow up in a disrespectful environment or none of that stuff. My mom and dad are still married to this day. The women and men that they brought around us, I never grew up around men and women even disrespecting each other. My father never yelled at my mom. My mom never yelled at my dad. All the women that came around were married. They had children. They were happy families. I wasn't growing up where women were calling each other the B word and all that stuff. No, I didn't really start getting around that stuff until I joined the military and I really started seeing.
Then where did you get the idea that behavior was synonymous with feminism?
I didn't say that it was with that. I said it's part of it. It's not even really all of it. A lot of that stuff, like you said, is just being the angry Black woman. It has nothing really to do, because there are a lot of angry Black women that wouldn't identify themselves as a feminist because they still feel that they need, deep down, that they need these men. That's why he said we're not taking it to the extreme. An extreme feminist would be the ones you see holding signs and saying that we don't need men. It's this, it's that. No, the relationship part that you're talking about really has nothing to do with being a feminist. It's more about being hurt and what you saw growing up in the environment that you grew up in.
So I think this is really good. I'm really enjoying this kind of discussion. I hope that the people who are watching this are getting something out of this, because what I'm seeing is two strong perspectives, and they're not necessarily wrong. We just have to find the alignment in there. Then, you all aren't 100% aligned, but you're more in alignment than you are off track. Let me read some of Stacy's stuff here in the chat room. She's going to go back a little bit. Stacy says, my 12-year-old just said it should be a equal balance in a relationship. And if you can't keep your hands to yourself, then leave. Then she goes on to saying, we're not saying that. I'm not sure who she was referring to on that. We want Black men, just the right ones. Then she asks a question of Zuri. Does Zuri have trauma with Black women? So I want Zuri to answer that as soon as I get through the rest of those. Invisigo is back and says, I am pro-feminism, but definitely not of the extreme variety. Feminism in its purest form is necessary for the evolution of humanity. Now that's deep, but we got to get into that.
What was the last part you said?
Feminism in its purest form is necessary for the evolution of humanity. Stacy then says, I have never really thought of either. I know a man is supposed to lead, but I have led. So I feel as I respond according to the situation. But what has those women been through? I'm not sure what she's referring to there. And then last one, Invisigo says, good question, Des. I feel that many ABW, what is ABW? Average Black women, maybe?
Probably. Average Black woman.
Co-opt feminism. No, angry Black women. Okay.
Oh.
Angry Black women. Co-opt feminism to have a banner under which they become a legitimate movement. Boy, we're hitting all kinds of stuff here. So let's not try to do it all at one time. How do you eat an elephant?
No idea.
No idea. I don't know how you eat no elephant. What do you mean? I don't even sound good. Okay, so let's go to the question. does Zuri have trauma with Black women? That question implies some things. What is that question implying, Zuri?
That's what I was asking. Is it implying because I don't agree strongly with Black women and the things that they do that most Black women feel like I have trauma with them? No, I just feel like Black women need to hold themselves more accountable for our actions and the things that we do, and that a lot of us create our lives and go back to remind ourselves of the poor decisions that we have made. And that's part of the reason why a lot of us are in the situations that we are in. I have no trauma with Black women. Most people that personally know me know that I'm very sweet. I stand on what I say, and I hold men and women accountable. I don't have trauma with Black women.
Zuri, look who just popped in.
I just asked the question because you was real strong about it too.
I am, because I feel like the last statement that George said about the evolution, it starts with us. We're the first teachers. I believe it does start in a healthy, healed Black women.
True.
Not the angry Black woman, not the bitter Black woman. We can't do anything.
Healthy, healed Black woman, the HHBW.
Yes.
Not the ABW.
And the question about what hasn't women been through, I was asking Desi because she was saying like the long line of Black women that talk to anybody any kind of way. I was wondering like what have they been through, because we don't just start talking crazy for no reason. So that's just the way it works.
Well, for me, my mom divorced my dad when I was 4 years old, but he was abusive, So I actually have some other family members that I have one family member that is a very quiet and mild person, and she never talked back to her husband in that way, very good tone. Just she's always a quiet person. He was very abusive to her, and she finally found her voice in a way. But I don't necessarily think something has to happen to every Black woman. I think that something happens to a Black woman and then they pass it down. So Stacey, you know me, I've been on here before with you. Yes. I've been married for a super long time. I've had a mouth that I've had to go through therapy to let go of, I've been in the trenches to rid myself and to learn how to have that proper, what Zuri might agree with, proper respect for my husband, realizing that, as George said, we don't need the same things as men and women, even though we try to treat each other equally and respectfully. So I think sometimes it's just passed down from generation to generation.
And that's what
I was going to say, generational.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing I'm trying not to do, because my 12-year-old, she was listening too. We was both sitting here listening.
Awesome, great.
She is on that feminism. I don't know too much about it, but she does. And that's what she said. She was like, relationships should be equally balanced, but if you can't do that, if you're going to be abusive, you need to move around and not be in it. And she's 12. Now, she's been talking about this stuff since she was about 9. Like literally, I have a video on her on my Facebook of her talking about all this stuff. And she says, okay, why is it that women also don't walk off? If he's arguing, you can walk off too. He don't necessarily have to be the one walk off. Because if you walk up on him and you hit him, then you want to call police when he hit you back.
That's my daughter. My 14-year-old daughter came to me the other day, and she was like, why do women put their hands on men and don't expect to be hit?
Exactly. That's what she's talking about, all this in this video. And she was 9 then.
Okay.
So I'm talking about, and so she's sitting here listening. She was like, okay, I'm like, I got to figure out how to get on here, because she got a lot of questions too.
Oh yeah.
Black Space Live for the adolescents.
Edition.
Yes.
I'll put my daughter on.
They would have a different perspective.
Yeah, I got one in there that's 11.
Yeah, they would have a different perspective.
Oh my goodness. Right, because there are divas in training, so you know
Mhm.
they learn more from what they see than what's being said.
And
That's
that's
right.
true. And
Hmm.
like literally, she has. I was with my husband for 5 years. She seen the verbal abuse, the mental abuse, the physical abuse. She seen all of that. But
Mhm.
at the same time, you know what I'm saying. And I think a lot of like the verbal, she done got some of that too. So it kind of messed with her, but she still has her personality still comes out. But we had to get rid of that. So that's when we always talk about it, like the trauma in relationships. Okay, I done had it. I'm talking about since
I
birth,
think
but it's just like,
I was gonna say I think a lot of us, majority of us, have had trauma in the relationship, but it's up to the individual how to heal yourself. Are you gonna let
oh,
it affect
I am
you?
healing. I
Yeah,
am
exactly.
in the
And my
healing.
thing is like, are you gonna let it affect you for the rest of your life?
No,
Or are you
I
gonna
can't
be
pass it
like,
on to her. I can't pass that on to her.
Right.
It's
exactly? And
not
some
fair to
women
her.
don't heal and they pass it on to their daughters. So that's all the daughters see, even as they growing up. So they feel like, okay, every man in the world is like this when it's not like that. When you say like you
Exactly.
choose to heal and then teach them the correct way. And a lot of times some of them will know already, like, that's not gonna be me, you know?
Yeah,
Oh,
but in order to still, you have to feel that same way about the boy children, right? Because when we talk about whether men should be feminists, they see that same abuse too.
yeah. And
They
my
Yeah,
take
boys
that's
that
do.
true.
on as that's the way that they should treat women.
But you know what I can say about my boys? They protected their mother. They shouldn't have been in that position, but they did.
I
But the
like what you
scary
said
thing,
when you
Stacey,
said that
was
they shouldn't have been in that position, but they
mhm.
But they
did. I
did.
like that.
They,
But
you
the
know what I'm saying? I shouldn't have had. And when he actually put his hands on my middle child, that was just it.
Yeah.
That was the last straw.
well,
Because
the
that
thing that
that
we
like
have
my
to pray
oldest,
for though is that because a lot of times they'll protect their mother, but then they might find themselves acting like that, acting out in that way on their mate, you know?
well, you
And
know what? You right, but like with my 17-year-old, he actually had to put his hands on him and he apologized because he told me that he was embarrassed because he came out of character. He's never done that before. They're very gentle, and I know some people do see it and they mimic it, but them two they didn't get that.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a lot of kids do, but then some, like I said, some children already know, like, nah, I already know that's not right, and I'm not gonna do that at all.
Yeah.
So
But
I'd
some
like
people
to.
are born to be the black sheep of the family to already separate themselves and like, I'm gonna change this cycle, you know?
So I'd like to just bring some clarity here, following off of Invisigoat's comment to Desi, um, in his assertion that he agrees with Desi that angry black women co-opt feminism. So I'd like to just present this as points for clarity for you all to maybe, either ingest or dismiss. Abuse is a standalone issue. The angry black woman syndrome is a standalone issue. Feminism is a standalone issue. I feel that society at large is having a discussion as it pertains to relationships, infusing all three of these aspects as one. And that is causing more confusion. I understand the intention, I can understand the rationale behind it, but it's causing more confusion. And
I agree.
just to go further, if you're an abusive person, that's a separate issue. You know, not all abusive people are feminists.
That's right.
Not all abusive people are black, white, or any or the angry black woman. Not all angry black women are abusers. You see where I'm going with this?
yes.
There's separations. Now, can there be overlap every now and then? Yeah, intersectionality occurs in so many ways, but correlation is not necessarily cause. And so, so many other things that have been said on this platform tonight, I think, are very valid from either side of the coin. But in terms of finding the solution and moving towards HHBWs, I love that acronym. We're going to have to find in all of our perspectives those areas of alignment. And we have come across that. We have hit those. And so it doesn't, doing that doesn't require you to leave your feminist platform or anti-feminist platform, because we all are who we are. How does this little podium speech I just made hit you all? What are your thoughts?
I agree with you. I think like you said, the society is mixing it all together when it's not two totally separate things. It can overlap, but the one issue is bigger than the other issue. And sometimes feminism deals with totally different things than the other things that we're talking about, like trauma and all that, trauma with the Black woman or the Black community in general. I feel like you said, they're combining it when it's two totally different things. It's just kind of like scratching the surface of it instead of really getting to the root of the problem of what's going on.
I agree with that. I agree with what you said. I think that's the bigger issue. It's just that these issues overlap and we're trying to fit them all in the same box, and they just don't fit in there, and they have to be addressed separately. And when it comes to our community, just focusing on Black community, I agree with Zuri. We have to address our communication, how we treat each other, our commitment to our families, our commitment to commitment, before we even get into taking these political stances of, I'm a feminist, an anti-feminist. I think that's kind of putting the cart before the horse with some of the issues that we have to deal with.
Powerful statement. Stacy?
Well, my thought is that with the feminism thing, I think that's more I don't think that has anything to do with the abuse with the Black women. I think feminism is more, I feel like it's more political than anything else. Not something that actually, like, you woke up one day and say, okay, I'm a feminist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's wake up there. You go, okay, I feel like this. Okay, you go through abuse. Well, a lot of us, we went through some type of abuse. Okay, you angry, but you build that persona so that you can protect yourself from anybody else coming into your space and abusing you again. So then everybody think that aggression is okay. That aggression is, I'm this angry Black woman, which I'm not. But I need this. I might not. Sometimes you have to make your mind catch up with the rest of your body. Okay, so your mind saying, okay, I'm feeling like I'm this weak person, but if I put out this roar, okay, I'm gonna keep people away from me. They're not gonna come messing with me. So you done went through the abuse, so you got this persona. Now you classified as an angry Black woman. That's far from what you're thinking. You just trying to protect yourself. That's it. And then the feminism, I don't think that has anything to do with it. But when a woman then finds a man that allows her to be feminine, then that's when she starts healing. And most women do it on their own. I don't care what Black women say. We get sick of ourselves. I tell myself, I'd be like, bitch, just shut up. I'm tired of you. Don't know somebody else tired of you. You got to get this together. And that's when I start healing. When I got tired of myself, that's when I start healing.
That's a t-shirt. You need to go ahead and go. That's going to sell. That's going to go viral.
I have a question for Stacy when she says, when you find that Black man that allows you to be feminine. One of my questions that I always ask, like, just it could even go to Desi. This is the first time I've ever been on a show with her, and you as well, Stacy. So where does it come from when we say, like, we have to allow a man to be feminine to be, let ourselves be feminine when we already should be that from the jump.
You listen, we all don't make the right decisions the first time. Talk about myself personally. I had to be the whole ninja in the relationship. So I couldn't be feminine. I had to go to work 6 or 7 days a week, paying bills. I wasn't in my femininity then. Hair looking rough, nails ain't nothing. Glow came back. When you get rid of that mess there, that's when the glow come back.
Yeah.
Go through somebody's Facebook, you can tell what they're going through. For real.
Yeah, I like you, Zuri. Had that comment resonated, caught my attention. When a man allows a woman to be feminine, and I guess it depends on how that can be interpreted, because you all have heard my podium speech about let a man be a man.
Right.
A woman does not need permission to be an all-out woman.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, if a man will be like, I'm gonna be a man for the right woman, or I'm gonna be masculine when the right woman comes along, we would look at them like,
that is actually what they say, and I think that's why that dichotomy is happening, because I think that I think that a lot of times, because, and this is my belief, I do believe that as Black women, we are taught to coddle Black men. We'll get into a relationship, and when they need, like Stacey is saying, sometimes we'll take on all that extra burden, some of us, and then we'll find ourselves in a masculine role that we didn't mean to be in.
Exactly.
And when
I
say
it happened to me before, but I have seen it happen to other people where it's like they almost feel like they got bamboozled into.
That's you got to pull out fast.
Yeah, I was like, it's over.
So, Desi, you just went right where I wanted to begin closing the show out on, because there's another aspect that I think I want to set this up for the next show on this topic. What came up today was when you shared your experience about coming up in a household that had that matriarchal culture. And I know for a fact, most women I know come up. That's our norm. Mm-hmm. What Zuri shared, the healthy experience that Zuri shared, unfortunately, is not the going narrative of I grew up in a long-term, parents are still married, and the roles of femininity and masculinity were respected and held high. And, I've never seen the type of negative name calling and battering and verbal and physical. That just was not Zuri's experience. I want to, for part 4, use this ending to set us up for part 4. And so the comment you made about Desi, that you made regarding the coddling of men. So that was a great statement. So I want you to think of another. We're going to come to you last, because I want to address that in the next show. But as it pertains to matriarchally dominated homes, I want each one of you to say the most controversial statement you can say for or against the matriarchal dominated home. And let's start with Stacey.
Oh, abusive. Verbally abusive.
So put that into a full sentence. What about the matriarchal dominant? The matriarchally dominated home is what?
The matriarchal dominant home. My home was verbally abusive.
Okay. Zuri.
I would say the matriarchal dominant home is missing balance.
Repeat that again.
It's missing balance. There's no balance in the home.
The matriarch. Okay, so now what I want you to do is put some stank on that, Zuri. Man, you know, put some stank on you. Don't sound reasonable and rational for me. We're setting this up because I want everybody to come back and say, "Oh hell no, we gonna deal with this tonight."
Okay.
So when you say imbalance, go ahead.
Imbalance, that there's no leadership, just like Stacey said, that there's a lot of verbal abuse going on. There's no leadership. It's only one-sided when it's mothers raising children alone. They can't handle it because a woman cannot be a man, the father, and the mother at the same time. It breaks the woman down. And she cannot even care for those children properly like she could if there was a father in the home or a male in the home. So bring back the fathers in the house.
And I'm gonna have to call you on that one because I know how.
Stop right there. Stop. See, that's how I know it's a good one. That's very good. All right, this is gonna be good. Okay, Desi, I put pressure on you because you came up with some good stuff. But do you have another one you can add to the mix?
I'm gonna say that the matriarchal home promotes detachment mentally and physically, and so. Like that rap song they have where they say she's a runner, she's a track star. Nobody is getting married, sticking together, nothing. It just promotes detachment from siblings, parents, commitments to men or other women. It's just a whole detached life.
Imbalance. That's right.
All right. And here's my titillating comment to set up part 4 of this show. Women, if you are going to run a single mother, matriarchally dominated household, learn how to do it right. I'm just gonna drop it right there. I'm gonna leave it just like that. And I hope it gets Wow. God, this has been great. You all, this is amazing because Jury, this is new with you and Desi and Stacey, and I love this chemistry. I love the combination here because we covered some great ground tonight. And one thing I can say about all three of you that is in alignment, y'all stand strong. This was beautiful to see. It was like watching, what am I trying to, something in the animal kingdom where there's staking territory and they're squaring off. I mean, y'all be squaring up.
Serena and Venus.
Yes. So the next show we got to have the same cast because Stacey was starting messing. She wasn't even on the doggone. She was doing it in the chat. Stacey was starting rooming. You been hurt? You been traumatized by black women, Zuri? Stacey was starting messing in the chat room. So this was good.
I had to get it in.
I loved it. All right, so hey. Desi, Zuri, Stacey, all three of you in with the E vowels. Matter of fact, Desi, Zuri, Stacey, you all have been great. Thank you so much. You made my week. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
I know Santa Claus has a real special gift for all three of y'all. Desi been so good. She got three Christmas trees. So, hey, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Have a good week.
Happy holidays to y'all. If we don't have it again, Happy New Year's.
Yes. And until the next time we meet, we'll see you in the Black Space.